Did you know about the payments?
Later on, I knew. Later on. But you have to understand, Ainsley, what he did, and they weren't taken out of campaign finance. That's a big thing. That's a much bigger thing. Did they come out of the campaign? They didn't come out of the campaign. They came from me. But they didn't come out of campaign.
So, President Trump insisting that those payments by his former attorney, Michael Cohen, to a pair of women did not come from his presidential campaign. Cohen pled guilty in federal court yesterday to charges that include 2 counts of campaign finance violations. One of the big questions as we move forward is what impact might this have on the Mueller probe if Michael Cohen continues to expand his memory and talk to them. Earlier, I spoke with Michael Cohen's attorney, Lanny Davis. So a couple of things, to clear up. You heard what the president said there. He has said 2 different versions of that. When he spoke to Ainsley, he said that he didn't know till later, and yet we know from the tape that your client made surreptitiously that they discussed it before the payment was made. But I want to go to the larger question of whether or not it was a campaign finance violation. You seem to be assuming that it was. Michael Cohen said it was, but others are saying that there's no way to connect the 2 in a clean, direct way.
Well, I don't know who's called others, but let me at least start with...
Well, let me just quote somebody for you then, and then I'll let you answer. Former Election Commission Chairman Hans von Spakovsky said this is not a violation because this was not a campaign-related offense. This is the former head of the FEC Commission. He says Cohen pled guilty to it. Cohen paid it, but then Cohen was reimbursed by Trump, and a candidate can spend as much of their money as they want to on their campaign.
Okay, well, it's perfectly appropriate for someone who doesn't know facts to disagree with federal prosecutors who investigated the facts, and I respect anybody's opinion. But there's only one law. There aren't 2 laws, and the law doesn't make a distinction between money that comes from a campaign that is for the principal purpose of politics, which is what the prosecutors found. There's no distinction between, as Mr. Trump said, campaign funds or personal funds. Both are subject to 1, limits, and 2, disclosure. Neither of those occurred for the very reason that Mr. Trump didn't want anybody to know about $130,000 of hush money to Ms. Daniels. And he asked Mr. Cohen, according to the prosecutor's words, that Mr.
Lanny,
Cohen
you make it sound like it's very easy to make that connection, and we saw that Michael Cohen pled that there was a connection. In fact, you said yesterday that he used the exact words that the prosecutors told him to use in terms of at the direction of the president. Those payments were made to influence the campaign of 2016. So those are the words that Michael Cohen used when he pled guilty. If he had not agreed to use those words, would he have been able to get the sentence that he got or have made this plea at all, or was it incumbent upon him using those words?
Well, let's talk about the facts behind the words. I don't know what would have, could have, should have been. There was no deal. He got no lower jail time. He's going to jail. He pled guilty. Federal
campaign finance law is not nearly as cut and dry as you suggest it is. In many ways, it's almost like insider trading law. It's very, very difficult to prove where the money came from and whether or not it was a campaign, whether or not it was campaign funds that were used or donations to the campaign.
Do you mind if I interview you, since you've got the answers? I'll ask you a couple of questions.
Absolutely.
If somebody makes, thank you, because that's probably a better way for this interview to be conducted. If I asked you, why did you donate $130,000 to Miss Daniels after she threatened to divulge an affair with a porn star 2 weeks from the election, would a juror possibly draw the inference that it was related to the outcome of the election?
They could draw that inference. Absolutely, they could, but they wouldn't necessarily. And that's what I'm saying. That is something
necessarily.
They wouldn't necessarily.
Correct.
It depends. There could be a lot of reasons for. I don't want to split hairs with you.
I have a second question for you.
But I just want to say that there are other legal experts who believe that this is not as cut and dry as you seem to think it is. We all heard what Michael Cohen said in court, but whether, in terms of how it relates to the president and the campaign, you know, this is based on other people's legal assessment of whether or not it's as cut and dry as you say it is. But you know, obviously his credibility is a question. I mean, he lied about his taxes. He owes the U.S. government about $1.4 million in taxes, according to the prosecutor who spoke yesterday. He lied about the bank situation, about the taxi. So why should people take him at his word now?
Well, I wouldn't ask anyone to take him at his word. The prosecutors developed a case with evidence of members of his campaign. If you read the entire information put out by the prosecutors, members of his campaign, members of the Trump organization all document that the money was paid right before the election, and the prosecutors brought charges that Mr. Cohen was motivated for political reasons to pay hush money, and that Mr. Trump is named as the person who directed, that's their word, and coordinated, that's their word. Now, you can argue about how jurors would come out. I completely agree with you. I never used the words cut and dried. I believe you did twice. I didn't. I said reasonable inference. Inferences can be debated. That's what juries are all about.
All right. We will follow it closely. Lanny, thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you,
Good to
Martha.
have you with us. Good spirited discussion. We'll see you next time.